Hi everyone, this is Jackie with the Self-Sufficient Mercantile, and today I'm going to be talking about planting onions. There's one thing that you must know before you start planting, so stick around and I'll tell you what that is. Okay everyone, so before we get into planting onions, there's one thing that's really key that you need to know. That is, the type of onion that you plant is really important for your particular area. So the ones I have here, since we are in Zone 9B in Southern California, these are short day onions. So what that means is that they don't require a long daylight length during the summer to bulb. These are from Dixondale Farms. They're out of Texas. I've used their onions for several years. I'm not, sponsored by them or anything, but I love their starts. They kind of look bad right now, but really once they're dormant right now, once I get them in the ground, they're going to start growing. And then once our daylight hours start increasing, what they'll do is they'll start bulbing. So that's the important part to know, what onion is going to grow best in your particular area. So if you go to the Dixondale site, they have a whole chart there. You can look at the map of the US and you can see, am I short day, intermediate day, or long day onion? So when we lived in Montana, we were long day. If I were to grow those onions down here where we're at now, they just wouldn't bulb. So I'd end up with maybe a good size onion, but it would have just the same size all the way down. It wouldn't get nice and round on the bottom. So anyway, I just wanted to point that out for you guys to before you plant and go through all that trouble, make sure you have the right onion for your area. Okay, so now let's get into planting. What I've done here is this row, I've amended it with compost. I do that every year. These are in ground, they're lined with wire, so I don't have to worry about gophers getting in or anything. So I amended the row with compost. I did add some azomite. I do that to increase the mineral content in the soil, just a little bit. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a fertilizer here before I start planting. And if you go to Dixondale, they'll tell you kind of what to do. I don't follow that exactly. I like to grow organically. So this is something I'm going to start with here. This is Down to Earth, really good compost company, or fertilizer company, excuse me. And I'm going to use the fishbone meal. So if you look at the middle number, that's your phosphorus content. So that's higher than this first one. This is your nitrogen. So when this is high, this is going to encourage root growth and also flower. Obviously, we don't want our onions to flower, but we want to encourage root growth right away. So I'm going to put this down in these trenches. I've dug little trenches. I'm going to sprinkle this in the trench, just like that. And then what I'll do, after I get all this done, then we'll get into planting. I'll just start so I can show you guys. One thing you want to know about organic fertilizers versus non-organic is organic fertilizers are very mild, or they're not hot. So you don't have to worry about if the root comes into contact with this, if it's going to be a problem burning the roots. I have never had a problem with that, and I've used organic fertilizers for a long time. So anyway, this is what you do. Just sprinkle that in the row. And then you can kind of, just touch it a little bit and work it in. Not much though. And then you're going to plant the onion right in this trench here. Okay, so you can see these onions are kind of all different sizes, and it really doesn't matter. I mean, this is a huge one, but you're even going to plant the little ones. sometimes you end up with ones that are really, really tiny. Let me show you an example, like this guy. This is one of the red onions. I'm going to plant this anyway too, because it'll bulb. Might take a little bit longer, but it's still going to be great. Okay, so with onions, what you have to think about is you want to get a nice size onion. So you don't want to plant them too close together. You want to give them a little bit of space. So the recommended space is about 4 inches apart. I don't get my measuring tape out and do anything. I just kind of eyeball it. And once you've been gardening for a while, you get a feel for it. So actually with these, what you could do is you can kind of use the onion as a little ruler. So I'm going to plant that. I don't plant it too deep. You don't want to do something like this. You want to kind of keep this buried a little bit because you want it to be able to bulb. If this is planted too far, it's just never going to do that. So what you can do is I'm just going to use this onion here as like a measurement. So I'm going to plant this one right about here. You can go like that with this one. And see, you don't have to be perfect when you're doing it. You know, you just kind of want to get it close enough. What I do here too is I'm going to plant in this one row, I'm going to plant 3 rows. So what I like to do is I like to plant this row and this one across from each other, like that. So, you know, once you get that first row going, then you can come back and use that as a gauge. So that's what I'm doing there. That's what I'm doing there. And then I'm going to go in between these two for this row here. So that kind of offsets them and it gives them all a little bit more room. So another important thing that I like to do, because a lot of times I'll plant something and I'll forget to tag it. I think, what is this variety? I love it. I want to grow it again. So make sure that you do tag it with the variety so that you know what, this is not something I want to grow, or yeah, I definitely want to grow it again next year. So if it's tagged, it's kind of a no-brainer. So I'll do that. And then what we'll do is once these are all in, I'm going to go back and I'm going to water them in to kind of settle the soil in around them. And there's something that I use when I do that, which helps. It's helped me in the past with like transplant shock. And it's just a really good, it's a liquid fertilizer nutrient that you want to add as you're watering in. So anyway, again, you don't have to be perfect. You're just trying to get them kind of healed in, really. Okay, so I'm going to finish these up, and then I'll show you watering them in. Can't remember what it was. Are you filming? Oh. Let me see here. Lion's mane, good for brain and memory. I don't think this is working for me. So in all seriousness, what I was going to say is that gardening is one of those things that there are as many types of gardening as there are gardeners. So what I'm showing you is my way of doing it. It doesn't mean you have to do it my way. I'm just kind of giving you a framework. So play around with gardening, you'll have fun. One thing I did want to mention, some of these are really small, and I don't have enough space for all of these onions because I ordered too many, let's face it. That's just what I did. So what I'm going to do with these, I have a lot of white ones here. I'm going to pull out the very smallest ones, and instead of putting them in the row here, I'm probably going to do these in pots. And they'll get just as big, or I might even pull them early and use them like as a green onion, and you can do that with these too. So another option is if you want to pack them in closer than like 4 inches apart, you can certainly do that. And then what you would want to do is once they started growing, you would want to pull the ones that were in between. So your final spacing would be about 4 inches. So you can do that, and you can use the ones that you pull early as a green onion or a scallion and leave the other ones to get to full-size ones. So. One more thing I wanted to share with you is right now, as I said, I'm using the fertilizer that's really high in the middle number. So that's encouraging your root growth. In about 3 weeks, I'm going to switch over. I'm still going to fertilize probably every couple of weeks, but I'm going to use something that's very high in the first number, the nitrogen. Because onions, even though they are a bulbing plant, they do have a lot of green on them, and so they respond well to high nitrogen fertilizer. I'm going to use, what I use is a fish-based one. Again, if you are not into organic gardening as we are, you can use I think there's like ammonium sulfate or something, I don't know, high in the first number and then lower in the other two. You can certainly do that. Just be careful on those commercial fertilizers. They're really high in salt, and they're not really good for long-term soil health. Also, they are prone, your plants are prone to burning if you get too much on there. So anyway, just wanted to give you that tip. Okay, so I got them all planted. Now we're going to water them in. And I actually have 2 rows planted. So we're going to have a lot of onions this year, hopefully. Okay, so this is what I use to water in after I transplant things. I use it on pretty much everything. It's seaweed extract. Some of you might be familiar with it, some of you not. But it is very good for transplanting. I think it has a few minerals in it and a little bit of fertilizer, but it really is gentle on the plants and kind of gives them a good start. So recommended dose on that, I think, is about 1 teaspoon per gallon. So I put 2 teaspoons in here, use some of the rainwater that we collected. So now I'm just going to water them in. What you're trying to do is, you know, because I was pretty light about tamping the soil in around these. So just, you want to get them so that the soil is going to be, you know, nice and tight around the roots so there's no air pockets. So I'll probably come back and hit these again just to get them a nice good start. And since we have been having pretty chilly morning temps, it's been getting down to, well, 28 is the average. It's been colder than that in the mornings here. So what we'll probably do if it's going to get that low, because these are so new and they don't have any established roots yet, they're kind of susceptible to get cold. So we'll probably throw like a frost cloth over these just to get them going and protected for the next couple of weeks till they can get some roots in the ground. So anyway, hope this was helpful. Hope you found something interesting. If you have any questions, I would love to hear from you. Just post down in the comments. And thanks for joining me, and have a great day. Happy gardening.